First and foremost, let me express my profound gratitude to you and very many well-meaning Nigerians who have, over the last couple of days, been sending me congratulatory messages on the occasion of my 70th birthday. The truth of the matter is that nobody gave me a chance in my early years that I could live up to 70. I also did not believe I would live up to this age. Because my early years were very turbulent. I was very sickly, and quite a lot of things came up, right from the fact that I was not able to talk in my very early years. But that also helped my reading abilities and so on, because I could only, in most cases, read and write what I needed to put across. But after going through the University Teaching Hospital, Ibadan, at that time, and all the treatments that I got, I started talking, although with a lot of difficulties and challenges, and that affected my singing ability, my chord, over the years and so on. But soon after I got out of that, I became again terribly sick. And this time, University Teaching Hospital, no hospital could help me. And my parents, and especially my mother, who was most touched by the development, ran from pillar to pole, as it were, went through all the hospitals that she knew, went through all the herbalists, all the native doctors, all the prayer people, the groups, and so on, from church to church, all the fasting that was possible, in order to make sure that I remained well and I could go ahead. No little role did my father also play in ensuring that I survived, made all the sacrifices, but the ailment could not be properly diagnosed in any hospital, and there was no native medicine that appeared to have been possible at that time to deal with the ailment. It was not until 1965 or 1966, thereabouts, that I had the opportunity to, I was taken by my parents from Benin City to Agenegude, and from Agenegude we went on a boat across to a place that on the river Niger was called Usunene. And we walked almost 2 kilometers from the bank of the river inwards. And the members of my family were taken along to come, and that was about the last hope of my father and my mother, that I was going to get any type of reprieve if it was possible. But everybody had almost given up totally on me at that time. And by the time I got across to the place, Osunene, I just sincerely didn't even know where I was and how we got there, except for the fact that we traveled by boat. And there, I think we were almost about 10, 11, my father, my mother, my grandmother, my stepmothers, my father's sisters, and my elder brother's wife, and so on. We all went there. And there it was, behold, after my father had consulted, and whether the herbalist or whoever he was at that time, what he could be described of, said, well, coincidentally, he's very sure that the people that were here could assist in getting this boy well. And that it is not, there is nothing great about it. If you are sure that you are able, that you are desirous, as my mother, did you give this your son to anybody as sacrifice here on earth or in any mystic or far away this thing? Have you given him any medication that is going to, that has made him so sick that everybody is anxious? Well, they asked everybody around and so on. And after that, they gave, he brought, said, well, this is pot of water. You, the sick boy, take this cup of water, drink it, and ask every other person to say, okay, this is the cup of water, you take it. If you say your heart is clean, you say you are not responsible this thing, ask your God to help you. And I took the water and so on, and coincidentally, I started vomiting, and gradually the heavy congestion that I had in my abdomen and in my body and so on, I kept on vomiting. But in between the period, some people said they were responsible for the level of ailment.
Oh, they confessed.
They confessed. And some of them are still alive today. Those that witnessed the story and witnessed this thing, they are still alive. So, in that way and manner, that was about the time I got back to school properly, that I was able to focus and concentrate. And from there onwards, I think the sky was the limit. I was 25 when I got PhD. So I wanted to have my DSc and get...
But you eventually got a DSc.
I got a DSc. Yeah. But you know, it was not at that age of 28. Yeah. But what Chief Olusegun Obasanjo enabled me and prepared me to be was to become a millionaire at the age of before that 27 and not a professor. So, and that is how my fortunes in life turned around. Miraculous. Just that snap movement and decision of President Olusegun Obasanjo.
So let's go back to when you got back to Nigeria. When, you know, after the query from...
Yes, I got back to Nigeria by the query from Nigerian Post Authority. General, now it was later General, he was Brigadier at that time. Shehu Musa Yaradua, as Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters, said I should not mind them. I should go to the Civil Service Commission. So Civil Service Commission interviewed me and so on. And I entered, they looked at what I was getting in Poland at that time, plus the experience. And, you know, that was soon after there was heavy purge in the service. So the experienced hands who experienced in the public service at that time had been retired for one reason or the other by the Obasanjo, by the Murtala Obasanjo administration. Yes. So there were a lot of vacancies. We had not recovered yet exactly from the Nigerian Civil War. And here it was that we had easy and faster and better conditions of service and that one.
And acceleration.
So, acceleration. Yeah. So after I left there and so on, I had to come back again after an incident in the Federal Ministry of Transport. I came back now to Nigerian Post Authority. All them, Amu and the rest of them were assistant general managers when Alhaji Bamanga took. So that is the story.
How was your tutelage with Alhaji Bamanga Tukur? You see him as a godfather of sorts?
No, it's not my godfather, it's my father.
It's your father. Okay,
it's not my godfather.
You also served him as chief of staff when he was governor of Gongola State.
Let me say that my path crossed with Alhaji Bamanga Tukur from about the age after West African School Certificate. And my mother was struggling, wanted, in spite of the fact that she was not educated, wanted education for all her children. She had 13 of us. I was the only male child surviving at that time. She had had a male child who died at an early age. So at about 2 or so. And we were now contracted to about 7. And out of the 7 of us, there's none of us that does not have university education.
Wow.
That was our passion for education and our appreciation for the significance and importance of education. So in the quest that I get stabilized, she came in and walked straight to Alhaji Bamanga Tukur. Waited one Mr. Wilson, who was Secretary of the Statutory Corporation Service Commission at that time, who was a very close friend of Alhaji Bamanga Tukur, was also an in-law to my mother's younger brother. Okay. That's my uncle. So he said, no, Mama, I will take you. Just come along. I will take you to Bamanga. So we met Bamanga, and from there I was incorporated into the family. So it's about, even Awal was just a toddler at that time. So I became almost the first child of Alhaji Bamanga Tukur. And I grew up all through that time, all through my life successes. I went to Poland, came back. He made life comfortable for me, gave life a meaning in my life. I'm highly, highly indebted to him. When I came from the Federal Ministry of Transport to Nigerian Post Authority, about 6 months before he left Nigerian Post Authority on retirement, well, he told me that he was going he wants to go to Gongola to run for governor. At that time, there was a lot of hostility. There was a lot of, towards the Fulani, the type of noise you hear around today that they don't want a Fulani man at that one. In Gongola at that time, and a Muslim, there were Christians at that one, almost about 300 tribes, and people speaking different languages. So there was the gang up against Fulanis. So what you are seeing at the national level today is not new. But he was determined to succeed. He prepared himself for it. He sent me to University of Pittsburgh to go and do first a course in election management, in election planning. And so you can see the scientific approach. He wanted something scientific to be brought into his campaign. So I went, I came back, I planned the campaign with him. I said, if you are leaving the service, what am I doing in the service? I had already gotten up to the level that I can say,
thank you,
and so on. And I am ready to roll with you. So we went to Gongola together. We started from my traveling to Yola back and forth, and that one until I came, I settled down in Yola, sat down in Yola, and started executing the structures and the strategies to be able to win. So I was the DG of the campaign at that time. And when we won, I was appointed the chief of staff at that one, the first appointment that he actually made, apart from his nomination of the deputy, which had to be by the Electoral Act before going to the election. So that was the first appointment he made. So from there onwards, we tried to stabilize and walk around this thing. But I've had the most wonderful experience of my life under the tutelage and guidance of
your father.
Of my father. I did not intend, I never planned to be polygamous in life. Okay. The experiences, my health experiences, Usunene and the rest of things were definitely not going to support the argument for polygamy. I set out to, and if there's anything I regret in my life, being polygamous is one of the major things that I regret, which I do not wish the worst of my enemies before you talk of the people I love. But having said that much, I just simply want to state the fact that, yes, I had opportunity, success. I was first generation of the Dokpesis, who was a multimillionaire and so on. And when you don't have that tradition of success and that one, you do a lot of crazy things because there's nobody to guide you, and everybody is afraid to talk to you because of the level of success you have achieved. That is one. But basically, my own case was a little bit different. I was married to a Polish woman. The Polish woman was the only child of her family. She needed to stay with her family, and I wanted to be in Nigeria. I didn't want to remain abroad. So, come to Nigeria was difficult. Me going to Poland to stay was also difficult. And there's no living marriage, unfortunately. That type of separation does not support that. So she was there and I was there. And I know that at the time I came back, it is very true. None of my sisters, none of my brothers, none of my parents wanted to have a foreign daughter-in-law, as it was, an Oyibo woman. So the pressure on me to get married to a Nigerian was very high. But that was not even but for the breakdown of some family values at that time. The interference in what was my destiny. A scar I had to carry along. I traveled from Nigeria to Poland not less than 16 times, trying to plead with my wife to please come back to Nigeria, to spend some time. I brought back to Nigeria her parents and so on. But after 1 year, they too also wanted to go back to their country, to their values and so on. So we couldn't just get that sorted out. That it got to the point that I had to beg God, and I said it publicly, and I wrote it down in one of the terms of agreement with my wife, that Almighty God will give me children that are my own, that I don't have to travel to come and plead, to come and visit, or to bring down to this thing. So it became necessary for me to break my vows and have a second wife. And from a second wife and so on, I was not used to any Nigerian woman. I didn't grow up with a Nigerian woman that I would say I was the one that I was associated with. The parents turned me down on the grounds of the fact that my parents were poor and I cannot marry their daughter. So there was nothing I could do. So along the line, one child there, the second child, but the children are very successful, very brilliant, so I have to thank Almighty God for his blessings along those lines.
You are indeed known to be a family man, and the children, yes, we see them all around you. That one we can attest to.
But that I love women, yes, I love women, because God made it possible for me to love women. I said we were 13 by my mother, and I was the only male child living, and that one. We are 7 today. I'm the only male child. I'm intertwined with women. Why would I not love women?
Blessed are thou.
Amongst women.
Chief Dokpesi, I've never seen you in a suit. Were you Mbono JK's boycottables kind of person? And I also realized that you manifested that in Ray Power and AIT, that your presenters must answer Nigerian names, even if you have two, is it English or Catholic names now? You know, Anthony and Raymond. But these days it's Alio that people know you by. I've never seen you in a suit.
Well, coincidentally, I think I wore a suit to the stock exchange after my return. Okay. And when I went to the shipyard for when we acquired Binta Yaradua, Atinuka Biola, Lami Tukur, Aisha Dokpesi, we I wore suits in those occasions.
Early days.
But the truth of the matter is that I love my black people. I appreciate my black people. And the commitment must be to promote the black race as much as possible. You know, as a growing up, even in Poland, by still 1972, 73, 74, well, until the time I left Poland, there were a lot of negative stories about black people. There was still the belief that black men live on top of trees, not in houses. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of insinuations that we were monkeys, so we are just a little bit developed and so on, and that we had tails. So the ladies were always coming to search whether we have tails. So we showed them
so that
the tail
the tail you had.
Another love that you have is for music. And in fact, it's from what you just told us, it's your love of music that led to the creation of Ray Power, because you heard music clearly and your love of music and its promotion. Let's talk about that side of you.
Well, let me say that Jimmy Cliff was no doubt a friend I loved, I appreciated, I met very early. And my mother used to sing a lot. Mm-hmm. Out of pains, out of the only way she was able to comfort me, console me, she would just come up with one song or the other. But she was not a professional singer. But the first professional singer I mingled with was Jimmy Cliff. Mm. And Jimmy Cliff shared about the same challenges. I was very close to Jimmy Cliff until after he came to Nigeria, when he was arrested and released that song, The News. Mm-hmm. Have you heard the news?
Yeah.
So, and this was consolidated by King Sunny Ade. I'm a fanatic. Follower of King Sunny Ade.
He has a song on you.
One album to you.
Raymond Dokpesi me.
Wakanda.
No. I don't
Wakanda. It is the Yaba College of Technology girls that changed it to Wakanda. It is Wakanda. The word is candor. So go and check your dictionary. That what Sunny Ade sang, Raymond Dokpesi me Wakanda. Yeah, I know that's what you wanted to push me. That's it.
Actually, if you're a man of the people, from what you have told us so far, you've experienced a lot of betrayals. So those who were supposed to be friends turning against you, and then of course you've had a lot of support also from people. But you seem to have this policy of no foes despite all these betrayals. How have you been able to be a people's man?
You see, there is no doubt that upbringing, events in life. One thing I can tell you for free of charge is that I'm very hot-tempered. You see me, blah, 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 blah. 3 minutes later, I can't even remember why I was angry. I will have resolved the matter, it is gone off my mind. I always guide myself by saying that I say the Lord's Prayer every day, every morning, every afternoon, and every evening, where I say, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Therefore, I have no right, if I'm expecting God to forgive me my own trespasses, not to forgive people. So I don't have any permanent enemy. I don't have any permanent offenses. Let's go on. It's a learning process. I do not believe that anybody takes any particular step, particularly to hurt me or to injure my aspiration. But the truth of the matter is that the world is a complex world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't relax and say that you don't have enemies, but I believe I don't have any. I may have people I have differences or difference in opinion with, but I don't hate them in my mind. I will never hurt a fly. I will never injure anybody. And that people injure me and deal with me and so on. I pray also all the time that may God Almighty forgive them and grant them that peace of mind to be able to understand where I'm coming from.
You are Catholic.
Yes.
But I also noticed that during the Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, you also embark on fasting sometimes.
You know, my mother, with her northern background and northern values, was a Muslim until the later part of her life when she converted to Christianity. So, fasting, and I have every reason to be grateful to God. The journey, my journey through life has been so daunting, so painful, so engulfing that I cannot do without thanking God. So whatever I need to do, I endeavor to do it. I pray, I fast, I do the Christian fasting, I do the Islamic fasting, and on myself, I impose on myself at least another 90 days fasting in every year.
Now let's talk about your motivation for philanthropy. You are a giving person. Let's even about your, when we look at the CSR, the people of Alagbado would never forget you. I know what Alagbado used to be like in those days when we used to go there. Even people of Paduma Hill here in Abuja. What is the motivation for you to give back?
You see, if you grew up in poverty, if you grew up not believing that it was possible for you to attain certain levels because of the challenges that were stark challenges before you, and you see any child, what I don't play with, and my weakest point is a child wanting to go to school and not having money. I can take off my dress to pay for such a child to go to school because I know the pains I went through until Alhaji Bamanga Tukur came to my salvation and my hope and gave me hope. So if you find children out of their distance, there's no way you won't be touched. If you find a woman that is struggling to carry a child, there's no way you won't be touched. So I don't have 10 heads. I only have this one. I don't have 4 legs. I only have 2. So I can't say that it's my entitlement. It's just a privilege that I got to where I got to. And if there's anything I can do to uplift others, to wipe the tears of others, to be the handkerchief of all others, I'm very glad and happy to be able to do that.
You were part of the 2014 conference.
Yeah.
And I know that it appears you were quite passionate about the adoption of that report that you were all a part of. Against the backdrop of goings on now, what would you really recommend concerning the 2014 confab and the future of the politics of Nigeria?
Well, most of the contemporary problems we have in Nigeria today, possible solution to them are contained in that 2014 report. But there are also aspects which we all agreed that we should adopt, but which I personally, I did not agree with. I did not feel that that was the best way. For instance, the issue of creation of states. I believe strongly that the 36 states that we have are unviable. They are not, they are inefficient. They are unproductive. And we should really look at the merger of states. I believe that if I want to go to Lagos and at the roundabout I turned towards Sokoto, I will get to Sokoto and go into the desert, but I won't get to Lagos. So the point at which I realized that I've made a mistake, I should be courageous enough to do a roundabout and turn back and come to the right road. We missed the road in Nigeria. You see, our founding fathers agreed that because of our diverse cultures and values, we had to be a federal republic. So, what does it entail? It entails the fact that for us to all come together, we must come from different groups. We surrender some of their rights to sustain the top one and allow others rights of the lower district. But in the unitary system, which came in when the military came in, the military took over because they are only used to one single line command.
Of command, yes.
And nobody has every effort to get to say this unitary system is not working. Let us go back to the federal system, which our founding fathers agreed upon, which brought about the development, the cocoa house you have, which is now dilapidated, but is still existing. All the universities that you have, all WMBS, WNTV, all of them that are on, we should go back to it. Let each part of the country develop at its own pace. Let us cut down the big waste at the federal level. Let's find more money for development. There are minerals in every part of this country. It's a very blessed country. But everybody wants to take oil and people have become trillionaires on crude oil, just on the basis of the fact that, and the people that are producing from their area, unfortunately, with the mentality of we are the owners, get nothing from that, and they are oppressed. And so, in the 1963 Constitution, the 1960 Constitution, the founding fathers agreed that, look, if there is a mineral that is found in your place, like gold in Zamfara, like columbite in other parts of with all the solid minerals available, if we tap into them, Nigeria will have a diversified base. Can you imagine what will happen if during the Nigerian Civil War, for instance, Biafra was not importing armored cars and so on, they were manufacturing them. If those scientists at that time in Biafra were encouraged properly, would we not have become this thing?
No.
Can you imagine that what we do up till today is that Biafra didn't import any gram of refined petroleum products. They refined it themselves. If that technology had been developed and sustained and funded by the federal government, what would we have had today? We wouldn't have had to be all this issue of the subsidy, no subsidy, and cheating of government wouldn't have been there. We would have had this thing. But up to today, what happens? If anybody is coming up with a refinery and a small refinery, you go and attack. You say it's illegal, this thing. They are locked up and they are destroyed. You are not allowing the imagination and the potentials of people to be developed to a level that is the same thing in all fields, both medicine and so I think that as much as possible we need to devolve powers. Everything must not be about Abuja, about the central government, a very powerful president. No, let the states have resources. Let the local government areas be independent, but not funded by the federal government. Let them be funded by the states where they decide to be. The number of local governments you want to create, like Bola Tinubu wanted to create 57 in Lagos. Fine, that is his business. Let the legislature there agree. That's what they want. They are not coming to the federal government to take the money. They should fund it by themselves. And whatever development they want, they should pay only. So the 1960 and 63 Constitution said 50% of whatever you generate
belongs to
remains with you. Out of that remaining 50%, 30% is shared on equal basis across the country, which you will still get some share. 20% of it will go to the federal government for this thing. But now that 20% that was supposed to be federal government was now increased to 57%, to 60%, because we were prosecuting a war. But we finished the war in 1970. We finished the war in 1970. Look, 10 years in the war ended in 1970. By 1979, you had President Shehu Shagari contesting for president. What did he do? He chose a vice president from the southeast. Because these people understood, that generation understood how we can manage our differences and our diversity. But these people here today, I want Republic of Biafra, I want to do a republic, because of the injustices that are going on. How do you constitute a whole Security Council and the people come from one side of the country? Everybody. And with impunity. There are federal character provisions available in the Constitution. You throw them away. It will not be easy, in my opinion, to change this unless we have somebody we can't go to war. We don't have to go to war. We only need to get somebody who is committed to it and understands the need for the diversity, the respect for the diversity of all parts of Nigeria. And Nigeria will be a better place. We have a lot of potentials. In spite of all the challenges that we have, I strongly believe that Nigeria can still be redeemed and can still flow with milk and honey.
Thanks for checking out Symphony on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.